Yo, stop! Before you scroll past this, you need to understand what you are actually looking at in this clip, because at first glance, it looks chaotic. It looks like a random dude on the ground surrounded by people in the desert. But when you understand the full picture of what led to this moment and what almost happened in the seconds after, this might be one of the most intense pieces of footage to come out of this entire conflict. Let's break it down. So let me give you the full context before we even get to the video. We are on March 2nd, 2026. Operation Epic Fury, the joint U.S. and Israeli military campaign against Iran, has been underway since February 28th, when a massive wave of American and Israeli airstrikes hit Iran. Iran hit back hard. Iran escalated its retaliatory strikes over the last 24 hours, targeting multinational bases and civilian infrastructure across the region. Now here's where it gets complicated. Kuwait, a U.S. ally, was experiencing sustained attacks as the region entered Day 3 of Operation Epic Fury. Iran struck a base housing American troops in Kuwait that killed U.S. Army soldiers. So Kuwaiti air defenses were on high alert. Missiles in the air, drones incoming, every radar screen lit up. Their finger was on the trigger. And then this happened. Okay, so look at this footage. What you're seeing is the immediate aftermath of a jet going down. You've got thick black smoke rising in the background. That's the crash site. You've got a large orange and white parachute deployed on the ground in what looks like a dry desert-like field near a chain link fence. And right there, sitting or standing near that chute, is a figure in full military flight gear. Camouflage suit, helmet. That is a U.S. Air Force pilot who just ejected from their aircraft. Now watch the people approaching. Civilians, regular clothes, some cautious, some moving fast, and at least one of them, look, is holding what looks like a metal bar or crowbar. Raised, tense, ready. This is the moment that could have gone very wrong. Let me explain exactly what happened in the air, because that context is everything. At 11:03 p.m. Eastern Time on March 1st, 3 U.S. F-15E Strike Eagles flying in support of Operation Epic Fury went down over Kuwait. During active combat, that included attacks from Iranian aircraft, ballistic missiles, and drones, the U.S. Air Force jets were mistakenly shot down by Kuwaiti air defenses. Read that again. Mistakenly shot down by their own allies. The F-15E is not equipped with missile warning sensors for infrared-guided missiles, so the crew would not have received any warning if an infrared-guided missile was flying toward them, unlike radar-guided missiles which do trigger alerts. And critically, the aircraft was flying over friendly territory in Kuwait, where the crew would not necessarily have expected a surface-to-air threat against them. Think about that for a second. These pilots are in the middle of intercepting Iranian drones and missiles. They're focused on the enemy in front of them, and a surface-to-air missile from their own allied country's defense system hits them with zero warning, no alarm, no time to react, just impact. And this wasn't just one jet. 3 American F-15 fighter jets were shot down over Kuwait in this single friendly fire incident. All 6 aircrew, that's 3 pilots and 3 weapons systems officers, ejected safely, were recovered, and are in stable condition. This was the first reported loss of aircraft for the U.S. since Operation Epic Fury began. 3 jets gone in one incident, not to Iranian fire, to a miscommunication in the fog of war with an ally. Now, retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Jeffrey Fisher told Military.com that he believes the incident was friendly fire, as CENTCOM indicated, saying it's nearly impossible for Iran to reach that far with an air defense missile and score a hit against a fighter jet. So to be absolutely clear, this was not an Iranian shootdown. This was an ally defense system targeting the wrong aircraft. So now you understand what this pilot just went through. They ejected from a burning aircraft, hit the ground in Kuwait, and now look at this video. They're surrounded by civilians who, based on the chaos happening in the skies above them all day, had every reason to be suspicious. Reports suggested the pilot was initially thought by locals to be Iranian, and honestly, Given the context, Iran had been launching missiles at Kuwait, strikes had been happening, you can understand why local civilians in the area would have been alarmed seeing someone in a flight suit drop out of the sky near their community. Watch the body language. Watch how the man with the raised metal bar is approaching cautiously. The tension in that moment is real, but then, you can hear it in the video.
American.
The pilot identifies themselves, American, and watch what happens. The bar comes down, the posture changes, the word okay is exchanged. And just like that, Casey, the tension diffuses. That single word, American, that's the moment everything shifted.
You're fine? Really? You need something to help you? No problem, you're safe. You're safe, you're safe. Everything good? No problem. Thank you for helping us. Everything perfect?
Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture, because this incident doesn't exist in a vacuum. The assault by U.S. and partner forces began on Saturday at 1:15 a.m., targeting the Iranian regime's security apparatus and prioritizing locations that posed an imminent threat. Among the primary targets were Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps command and control facilities, Iranian air defense capabilities, missile and drone launch sites, and military airfields. Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated that the goal of the operation is to destroy Iran's missile program. Iran responded with everything they had. Air defense systems across the region successfully blunted much of the Iranian counterattack, but satellite imagery and social media footage showed damage to several sites. Ali al-Salam Air Base in Kuwait was one of the bases targeted by Iran, along with naval support activity Bahrain, Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, Al Dhafra Air Base in the UAE, and Muwafaq al-Salti Air Base in Jordan. Civilian sites across the Gulf and Israel were also targeted. This is an active, multi-front conflict, and the friendly fire incident you're watching in this video happened right in the middle of all of that. I want to take a second and just think about what this pilot experienced. You're flying combat operations. You're actively engaging Iranian threats. You've trained for this. You're doing your job. And then suddenly your aircraft is hit, no warning, and you're ejecting. You're floating down into unknown territory. You hit the ground and people are running towards you and someone has a weapon raised. In that moment, you don't know if you're about to be helped or harmed, and all you have, your one tool, is your voice. And you say the word American. Kuwait's Ministry of Defense confirmed that it was coordinating with the U.S. to quickly return the crews to their home bases, and all 6 aviators have been recovered and are in stable condition. So this pilot made it. All 6 of them made it. But this video is a reminder that in a conflict zone, the danger doesn't just come from the enemy. Now let's talk about what the official responses have been, because this incident is significant diplomatically as well. Kuwait acknowledged the incident, and CENTCOM said it was grateful for the efforts of the Kuwaiti Defense Forces and their support in the ongoing operation. The incident is under investigation. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Air Force General Dan Kane, addressed reporters at the Pentagon, acknowledging the incident and stating he was grateful for the safety of the crews and confirming this was not the result of hostile enemy fire. He declined to comment further while the investigation is ongoing. There's no blame being thrown publicly between Washington and Kuwait City. Both sides are framing this as the tragic reality of complex, high-tempo combat operations, multiple air forces, multiple ground-based defense systems, all operating in the same airspace during an active missile barrage. The potential for this kind of confusion is real, and it has happened before in military history. What the investigation will focus on is what specific system fired, why the IFF, identification friend or foe, protocols didn't prevent it, and how to ensure it doesn't happen again while the operation continues. So what does this video actually show us? Strip away the noise, strip away everything. It shows us a pilot who survived being shot down by his own side's ally, sitting on the ground in the middle of a combat zone, surrounded by civilians who had no idea who he was. and it shows us one of those civilians making a split-second decision to lower a weapon based on a single word. In a conflict this large, this fast, and this complex, with Iranian aircraft, ballistic missiles, and drones all active simultaneously, and US, Israeli, Kuwaiti, Jordanian, Bahraini, Emirati, Saudi, and Qatari forces all operating in overlapping airspace, friction is inevitable. That is what military strategists call the fog of war. This incident is a textbook example of it. Operation Epic Fury began February 28th. As of this footage, the conflict had already entered its third day, with President Trump stating it could last up to 4 weeks. This is not over. There will be more developments, and we'll be covering all of it, factually, thoroughly, and without the noise. If this breakdown helped you understand what you're actually looking at in this clip, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop in the comments what you want me to break down next, because this conflict is moving fast and there is a lot to unpack.